Hey, my dear storytellers. It's so nice to be back. We took a little break for the holiday weekend, but it's Wednesday, 1 p.m. Pacific time. I'm Mary Rosewood, and I'm here live to talk about story structure, writing craft, and the mindset of the working, thriving writer. I'm live streaming on YouTube, but if you happen to be watching on Facebook, go to streamyard.com/Facebook and get permission to show your name. That would be lovely. This is a live stream. I welcome your comments. I welcome your participation. Now, listen, today our topic is timely. It's very timely. In fact, the time is now. What I want to talk about today is this idea that we have that we need to wait for the perfect opportunity. We need to wait for the perfect moment. We need to wait until we've cleared the decks, until things are calmer, until there's less on our plates in order to do any number of things that writers have to contend with. And today, what I have is a list of 10 things that I think it might be the perfect time to do right now. So the time is now. This is the perfect moment. And I am really excited to be here with all of you. So before we get started, let me say hello to the folks that are already in the comments. Hello, Hillary. Just so nice to see you as ever. Nancy, I'm delighted that you're here live. Constanza, what a lovely treat to have you here live with us. And hello, I so appreciate your live participation. This is a nice conversation. We go back and forth. So one of the things that's going to come up as I go through this list of 10 things that I think writers can just deal with right now, there will never be a more perfect moment than now, is to invite all of you to add in the comments maybe some of the things that I might not have thought to put on my list, but that you might be waiting for the perfect moment to attend to. And now you realize that perhaps the perfect moment is now. So that'll be interesting. We'll all learn from each other, as always. Before we begin, I'm Mary Rosewood. I am an author. I have written 14 novels that have been published by Big Five publishers, and I'm also the founder of Path of the Storyteller. And that is my own platform for teaching and mentoring writers. And this is a special time of year as we head into December. Tomorrow, because the next Path of the Storyteller program begins in January, and I have opened enrollment. We've already got a few dedicated storytellers signed up for January, and maybe you'll want to be one of them. So I just want to put this link where you can see it. Enrolling now at www.pathofthestoryteller.com/enroll. If you go to that page, you're going to learn all about the program. There are links to contact me with questions, and we can even hop on a Zoom call and go over what your concerns are about whether the program is the perfect next step for you as a writer. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that it might be. Fantastic. All right, my dear storytellers. Oh, and Terry is in the house. Waving hi to Terry. Didn't see you sneaking in. So pleased to have you here live. So listen, it's the perfect moment, you know? I mean, it's the ultimate form of wisdom to really admit that it's just now, that this moment that we're existing in is pretty much our only point of contact with reality. And anything we want to do, our leverage exists in the moment that we're in. And I mean, this is deep stuff, but storytelling is deep stuff. The path of the storyteller is a profound and meaningful path. And we often find ourselves, don't we, talking about, pretty profound things about our identities, the impact we want to have in the world, the influence we want to have on others, and just exactly what our writing practice means to us. So just, know that I come to everything I say about writing with a kind of reverence for the work and deep appreciation for all you practitioners out there, wherever you may be on your own path of development. So without further ado, let's address this idea of waiting for the perfect moment. It is a very universal human trait. It's not just something that writers do, although I think writers can be very guilty of it. We know that something needs to be done. Something needs to change. Something needs to be learned, something needs to be excavated from the bottom of the dresser drawer, that which is hidden needs to be brought to the light, right? We have to do things in our lives. We have to confront things. And it's all about change, isn't it? It's all about our development, our growth, our path to being our full selves, our full actualization, right? And yet, even though our inner wisdom might be tugging at our proverbial sleeve and saying, well, this needs to change. This has to be dealt with. You haven't looked at this in a long time. Maybe it's time to let go of that. All the little signals that we get from our inner wisdom, the storyteller that lives inside us, helping guide us on our own hero's journey. We are so adept at saying, yeah, I hear you. You're not wrong. However, this is not the right time. This is just not the right time. Yes, eventually I'm going to do that. Exactly what you're whispering in my ear. I'm going to deal with it. I'm going to face it, but not today. I'm too busy. I'm in the middle of a crisis. I have to deal with, 12 other relatively trivial things. I've got to clear the decks. I've got to wait till the kids grow up. I've got to, wait till the bank account says this, or my, my personal energy level somehow turns into a different place than it is right now. Like, whatever it is, I don't have to feed you the excuses, because and you can also share some in the comments if you've got some really juicy ones. This is a human trait, this kind of resistance in the face of an invitation to grow and change, that story structure describes perfectly. And I just love this about story structure, because story structure illuminates our own behavior. That's why people love stories so much. A well-crafted, well-designed story illuminates the truth of being human. And one of the truths of being human is that we're continually kind of called to grow, and we continually are squeamish about it, resistant about it, nervous about it. We have to work through our excuses. We have to work through our resistance. And a big one has to do with this idea of it's just not the right time. And why is that so attractive? It makes us able to say yes and no at the same time. So we don't feel weak, right? We don't feel frightened. We don't say, no, I just can't. I'm scared. We say, oh, yes, 100%. I'm going to do that. Just maybe next year, next 5 years from now, next, whatever. We just put it in the future. We delegate it to future us, who has no say in the matter, apparently. So this is a really interesting human trait. And in story structure, we have story energies that describe this really well, which is that we enter a story meeting hero who is in this state of something needing to change. And it may be something that's needed to change for a long time. For some reason, our hero has not been able to affect this change. It may be something that's much larger than them. When we're crafting a story, we're inventing a circumstance, we're creating a fictional dreamscape to contain, right, all this meaning, all this wonderful meaning. But our hero is in a state in some way that is not sustainable. Stuff needs to shift, needs to change, and yet no action is really being taken toward it. And then something happens, and the need for change becomes urgent. And now the ball is in the hero's court, so to speak, right, to change. And what does the hero do? They find ways to refuse. They either actively refuse themselves by creating all these interesting forces of refusal, or they, are symbolized by the fictional dreamscape that we create. External forces kind of take on this role of refusal. So I just wanted to start by framing the things that I'm about to list by embedding them in what we understand about story structure, that we are the heroes of our own lives. We are the main characters of our own lives. And this is a very normal thing to have happen. And often what is really helpful in helping a hero kind of get over the resistance is a little dose of mentor energy. And look who's here on your screen right now. In my role as teacher, I often find myself offering a little mentor energy to encourage writers to move forward on their path of development, on their path of the storyteller. And so that's what's going to happen today. All right. Fasten your seatbelts. Jaren has shared, by the way, let me share this now, Jaren, so it doesn't get lost, or wait till the end of the semester, right? On this topic of all of the things that we say to describe why, yes, we know something needs to be done, but now is not the time. We have to wait for the perfect moment. For Jaren, it's the end of the semester. I love it. So let's start with my list of 10 things that it might be the perfect time for right now. Like right now. No more end of the semester, when the kids grow up, etc., so on and so forth. Number one, today might be the perfect time to establish a consistent writing practice. How many of you out there are just, consumed with the knowledge that writing is your calling, writing is your path. It's something that's so meaningful to you. And yet you still haven't taken the very first step, which is to actually sit down and write on a regular basis. Now, notice I didn't say a daily writing practice. I don't think that the idea that you have to have a daily writing practice is in a kind of a don't break the streak way is accurate. I think you need to find the consistent writing practice that works for you. Some people do feel almost superstitious about I have to write every day or else what. Nothing bad is going to happen. You're not going to forget how if you skip a day, right? So if you have a job and you have family responsibilities and you have this and you have that, that's all good. None of them prevent today from being the perfect day to establish a consistent writing practice. Could be 3 days a week for half an hour a day. Perfect. I know you can do that. Today is the perfect day to establish a consistent writing practice. Sort out your space, where are you going to do it? Maybe sort out the schedule. If you truly cannot imagine having the presence of mind to do it at the same time a few times a week, I encourage you to have a writing friend or a remote work friend. Maybe they're not working on a novel, but maybe they have work that they do from home. And I want you to plan to have coffee with that person 3 times a week at the local coffee shop, or maybe meet them at the library if you don't drink coffee. And just know that if you make a date with your friend at 9 a.m. 3 times a week, I know you're not going to stand up your friend, right? You might stand up your date with your writing practice, but I know you're not going to stand up your friend. So go make a date with your friend. Maybe you'll need 3 different friends, to work it all out. But get it on your calendar so that you know that you have it. And it will so quickly become habit. And it'll so quickly become something that you look forward to. That this idea of having to discipline yourself and force your schedule into contortions is just going to fall away. Today is the perfect day to establish a consistent writing practice. Some writers are intimidated by the blank page. And if that is what you're going to tell me is your excuse, you know what I'm going to do, right? I'm going to tell you to go download the free collection of 30 writing prompts that I already made for you. www.pathofthestoryteller.com/challenge. It's just writing prompts. So the blank page is no longer an excuse, my dear storyteller, because you could just bring the writing prompts with you to your coffee date or your library date with your friend and just work on one, right? Nothing to worry about. All excuses have been put to rest. That's number one. Number two, what else might today be the very perfect day to begin? Well, here's number two. Today is the perfect day. Now is the perfect time to start that book you've been thinking about. I know you are out there thinking of books. You've got ideas. Maybe you've got a sketchbook. Maybe you've got a notebook. Maybe you've been collecting clippings and photos and a Pinterest board and a vision board. Maybe you've been writing the world building, you've been developing the backstory, you've been noodling. This is so helpful, right? This is so helpful if you've been doing these things. But why don't you start writing the book? I mean, today might be the perfect day. In my opinion, it is the perfect day to start writing the book that you've been thinking about. Now, listen, I know that writing a novel is a big undertaking. So it's kind of a long-term commitment. It's a little bit like, young couples who say, well, we know we want to start a family, but we're waiting for the perfect time. We've got to have the house, we've got to have the minivan, we've got to have the right, financial support, we've got to have the babysitters lined up, maybe we need to start a college, but like they haven't even started trying to have a baby yet. They're just trying to make the moment arrive perfectly. And those of us that have raised kids know that, you know what? There's no perfect moment. You're never going to feel prepared. If you want to do this, you're just going to have to do it. And it is a commitment that you cannot see the end of. You don't know the twists and turns. It's a long journey and you're in it. So I want you to bring that same spirit of creative commitment to your novel. You cannot see the whole road that lies ahead, but that is no reason to think that now is not the perfect time to start. So I just want to tell you that I think today might be the perfect time to actually start that book you've been thinking about. And if you haven't been doing all the preparation and the research and the sketching and the thinking on paper that I described a minute ago, maybe that's how you're going to start. But if there's a little glimmer of an idea for a story in your mind that's going to be a book someday, I think today is the perfect time to start working on it. Okay? That was number 2. Now, number 3 is going to challenge some of you. But my third thing on the list of things that today might be the perfect day to address is the flip side of the coin of number 2. Number 3 is this. Today might be the perfect day to finally abandon a deadly project that's been wasting your time for a long time. Now, that sounds, less like mentor energy, perhaps, and more like threshold guardian energy telling you to quit. We really have, most of us, such a bias against the idea of quitting. Just quitting, it's just an insult. You're a quitter, right? If you start something and you don't finish it, that always feels wrong. And I'm just here to tell you that it's not so. Because it just as we outgrow our clothes, we outgrow our shoes. Sometimes we outgrow even people in our lives who maybe at one time were really important to us, but things change. We grow and change. They grow and change in a different way. And we start to feel that we just don't resonate the same way. We may feel that they're holding us back or dragging us down in some way. These things happen. This is really quite a true part of life. The project that consumed you 8 years ago and that you spent so much time trying to wrestle into shape without really knowing perhaps how to do it is not something that you owe anything to. Just because you spent a lot of time on it, if it's not working, if it's never worked, if it's like an albatross around your neck, if it's preventing you from moving on, if it's damaging your confidence as a writer, and if it's taking the joy out of writing, and if it's making you think, well, if I can't finish this book, then I have no business calling myself a writer. In other words, if it's become toxic in some way, just stop it. Just abandon it. Put it away. It's just a file on your computer. Maybe it's a printout of pages in the drawer. It's not you. It's not part of your identity. It's something that served you as it served you and when it served you. But if it's not serving you anymore, just put it away. Does that mean you are never permitted to go back to it? Of course not. You are the boss of you. You are the boss of your book. You are the boss of your writing practice. You're the boss of your career. You are the main character of your story. But if you have spent an inordinate amount of time wrestling with a book that you really don't know how to write, just stop, because it's not going to teach you what to do with it. It's already shown you where your limitations are, and you need to stop. Perhaps take a break and learn what you're doing. Take up a project that is in keeping with where your skill set is. Conceive of and execute a book that you can write, right? And if the book that you were wrestling with feels like it's your masterpiece, it's your life's work, well, come back to it later when you have the chops to write it. But I'm telling you right now, wrestling with your masterpiece for 10 years isn't, and only to end up in discouraged and quitting, is a waste of your precious time and energy. Come back to it when you have the chops to know what to do with it. And by the time that you come back to it, you may find that your way of thinking about life and writing have outgrown your youthful vision of what needed to be said. Maybe what needs to be said is simpler, right, than what your original fantastic conception was. I'm dwelling on this a little bit because I just hear a lot of stories like this from writers. I really do. And it always makes me a little sad because I think, wow, if you hadn't spent 10 years trying to, wrestle that thing into shape, imagine what you could have written by now. If you had just calmed down, like put things in order, learned what you were doing, complete, like beginner projects, by which I don't mean unsophisticated or bad, but just the kinds of projects that are sort of structurally sound, that will teach you good habits about how to structure a story and how to approach a work. Write your masterpiece later. Write your masterpiece later, but start out with something fairly straightforward and have some success and learn. So that's number 3. All right, number 4, again, this, take from this buffet what suits you. But today might be the perfect time not to abandon, but to finish the half-written draft that you kind of got scared of and put away, or that perhaps something came and distracted you from, right? Something in life. If it's I'm not talking about these deadly projects that consume decades of our lives. Today, or for number 4, I'm talking about something that you really like, that was going pretty well, that you kind of got to the middle and just needed a break for whatever reason. Maybe today is the time to take it out again, to look at it, to get excited about it again, and to resume work. And, again, like, you don't need to be shy about this. Sometimes, I don't know, we do something or that we are a little embarrassed about, and then we become reluctant to take an action to mend it, right? Or we go someplace and we forget to write a thank you note, or we just, fail to acknowledge somebody's birthday, and then we're embarrassed, and then we're like, oh, well, I can't call them because I'm embarrassed. Then it just makes it worse. So we just postpone it more and more. Don't be embarrassed in front of your half-written manuscript. It's not judging you. It will be happy to see you when you decide to come back to it. Now, here's the key of this tip number 4. If you've got something that's lurking in the dresser drawer and you just have lost touch, with your routine, and you realize today's the perfect day to reestablish your writing routine, maybe make those coffee dates with a friend, take out that project and really get back to work on it. Fantastic, right? But if you stopped working on it because you hit the limits of what you know, if in fact you don't actually know what to do next, if you perhaps got to the middle and you realize, I have no idea how to write my way through a middle of a novel length story, or I don't know how to get to the end, then you identified the problem and you can solve that problem, right? You can get back to work and solve that problem by what? By learning more about story structure, right? By figuring out what was holding you back. Sometimes a fresh perspective and a little break is extremely useful. So I think today might be the perfect day to take the thing that you just kind of put aside, not meaning to abandon it, and just reacquaint it. If you want to apologize for leaving it alone in the drawer for a while, that's up to you, but it's going to be glad to see you. So that'll give you something to think about. That was number 4. Number 5 on my list of 10 things today is the perfect day for is to face your revision. Now, some of you may have recently finished NaNoWriMo. I know there's a lot of folks out there who are wrapping up their National Novel Writing Month drafting extravaganza, their marathon of word making. You are going to have to revise it, just as all writers have to revise our drafts. And sometimes we are so excited, exhausted, relieved to have finished the draft that we type the end and we're like, that was a sprint. I need a break. And we put it down. And then we get involved in life. We get involved in other things. It too starts to sit in a drawer, right? And so my advice is somewhat similar to the advice for number 4, the half-written draft that you didn't see through to the end. If you've completed a draft and just in a fit of exhaustion and relief, just tucked it away and said, I want to take a break from it. I think I'll put it down for a couple of weeks. Then I'll come back to it with a fresh perspective. And a couple of weeks turns into a couple of months, and a couple of months turns into 6 months, and 6 months turns into 10 months. You've got to face your revision. The draft you wrote is not really going to be worth much until you go back and revise it. So I think personally, today, no matter how long it's been, today might be the perfect day to face your big, messy draft. And I want to say, similarly, if one of the reasons that it's hard to take out your draft and say it's time to revise is because you don't have a clear set of tools for what it means to actually revise a messy draft, that is something that must be addressed. I do have a couple of videos on the YouTube channel specifically about how to revise. So, seek out a little advice, seek out a little guidance, give yourself a framework. Don't jump in and try to do it by ear. Okay. Revision is where we actually have to apply a lot of technique. All right. We have to solve problems. We can only solve them if we know what they are. If we have the skill to identify them, name them, and know what the solutions are. So take a look at some of those videos that I've done in the past about revision. They'll help give you like a little to-do list of what to look at first, how to fix it, and then what to do. All right. So today's time to face your revision. Now, number 6. I'm very optimistic now that your processes are moving forward, and that I know that a lot of folks who work with me are at different places in their career. So this won't apply to all of you, but I know it's going to apply to some of you. If you drafted, if you've revised, number 6 of the things that you may have not done that today really is the very perfect day to do is to write your query letter and send it. Don't wait any longer. If you brought your manuscript to the place where you really feel that it's ready to submit, and it's part of your publishing plan to query it, to maybe seek an agent, write that query letter, get some feedback on it, treat it like a writing project, make sure that it's as concise and thrilling and shows your project in its best light, shows you in your best light, and make a list of who might be the perfect people to send it to, and actually press send. Do it. Nothing bad is going to happen. I promise you, nothing bad ever happened to anybody just from the process of sending out a query letter. Might you not get an answer? It's possible. Might you get a response that says no, thank you? Quite possible. So what? You sent your query letter, and that's good. You'll learn something from the process. So that is something for some of you that today actually might be the perfect day to do. And just with a little caveat about that, of course, I do not recommend sending query letters as a way of trying to make yourself feel better when you're anxious about your project. You need to get your manuscript spot, right? It needs to be completely watertight before you query it. All right. So if there's work to be done there, let your conscience be your guide. But if you have done all you can do to your manuscript and you're just saying, I don't want to query because I saw on Twitter that right now the agents are really busy. I don't want to query because I'm not feeling that confident, and I think it would hurt my feelings to get a no, or I don't want to query. Maybe I'll query next year. Blah, 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 blah. Today's the perfect day. Today, right now, perfect day. That was number 6. Number 7, in the chronology of developing a work, number 7 would probably come before number 6. But today might be the perfect day for some of you to finally let someone see what you've written, right? So that might be something that you've been putting off. I'll show this to a beta reader, or I'll share this with a critique group, or I'll pay for a manuscript critique, or whatever. I'll enter a contest. I'll submit it somewhere later, not today. It's not ready yet. I'm not ready yet. I can't cope with it yet. It's too stressful. I don't want to show anybody what I wrote. Okay, settle down. Today, actually, I think is the perfect day to finally let someone look at what you've written. It is really sweet and vulnerable, and it makes I get filled with feeling when I think of how vulnerable writers feel about sharing their work with others, right? I mean, I am a writer also, and I know all about those feelings. We all have them. And there are reasons that our writing feels personal, and your writing should feel personal, right? If you didn't put a little bit of your own heart and soul and way of looking at life and your feelings about the world into your writing, chances are it's not that great anyway. So it's okay if it feels vulnerable, but also this: you wrote it to communicate. Whatever you wrote it to communicate with others. And this is what the path of the storyteller is about. It's really not, it's not meant to end with a benefit that's solely for ourselves, right? The path of the storyteller is one that will ask you to grow and change and explore your inner landscape profoundly. It is a journey of transformation for the writer. But part of that journey to reach its fulfillment is that you have to give what you make to the reader. You're making it for them. It's for their benefit. And so we have to start making ourselves brave enough to show what we've written to other people. And we have to remember that we're giving them a gift and that it's for them, right? And then when our writing is really finished, it's going to feel like a gift, and they're going to love it, and they're going to have a great experience. It's going to make them feel the way your favorite books make you feel. It's quite a journey, right, of work and study and craft and practice and, execution to get your work to the level where it does that. But that is true for all of us, right? It's true for all of us. So just remember that today might be the perfect day. If you've been making up reasons why it's too soon to show anything you've written to someone else, today might be the perfect day. All right. Number 8 on my list of things that today might be the perfect day for. Oh, this is so, you've heard me say this before, but I cannot say it enough times. Today might be the perfect day that you stop making up reasons why it's not a good idea and start to embrace story structure. Story structure is your friend. I know I say this on heavy repeat, all right? But fiction writers, particularly, really all writers, but my core audience out there, I know, are people who want to write fiction. Fiction writers are in the business of telling story. That is what our job is. We use language in order to do that. Language is our tool, our construction material, right? Just as oil paints are the oil painter's material, but they're not the point. The paints are not the point. The words are not the point. The story is the point, because the story is what the reader's experience derives from. That's what it is. If they wanted words, they could go to the dictionary. All right. So I can't stress this enough. You can be really good at writing beautiful phrases, but it's not going to give the reader what they want if what they've come to you is a story. All right. And I just want to say that I mentor writers all the time, and I've taught writers for many years. And I have never, I don't think once in all my years of teaching writers, had a writer come to me and say, Mary Rose, please help me. I I have a hard time thinking of words. I just have a hard time knowing, like, words. I don't know any words. Like, even in the act of complaining about it, they're using words. It's never going to happen. But almost on the daily, I have writers come to me and say, "Ugh, I'm stuck. I'm lost in the middle. I don't know what happens next. I can't, I keep rewriting the first 10 pages because I don't know how to get the story started. I keep writing because I don't understand what the ending's supposed to be." Like, writers pretty much only get tripped up about story structure. It's not about the words. And yet so many writers just keep thinking like, no, that's not what I need. I don't need to study story structure. I've got all my reasons why that's not the thing that I'm interested in studying. I'd like to maybe explore other things about writing, but not story structure. It's like saying, I'd like to, I don't know, build a bridge, but I'm not interested in knowing how to make it stand up, how to make it work as a bridge. I want it to look like a bridge, but nobody can go across it because it won't hold up. We have to really put first things first. Story structure is the thing that holds writers back. And if you are one of those people out there who just have neglected to really embrace that as a core piece of expertise that you must master in order to write, fiction that works for your reader, today is the perfect day to drop whatever objections you have and say, you know what I really need? I really need to embrace story structure. And if I don't know what it is, I need to learn about it. I need to find places to learn about it. I could watch some YouTube videos, right, on Mary Rose's channel, learn about story structure. Maybe I want to join a program. Maybe I want to get into the Path of the Storyteller program so I can teach you story structure. Maybe there's other ways you want to learn story structure. That's all good. But what I want you to know is that today is the perfect day to recognize that that really is something that you need to take seriously. Okay? Which brings me quite adeptly here to my ninth thing that I want you to acknowledge that today might be the perfect day for. Some of the folks who are here don't need to hear this message because they have already embraced this piece of advice, but some of you might need to hear it, whether you're here live or watching the replay. Today might be the perfect day to commit to seek some training, to stop trying to do this on your own, to stop trying to reinvent the wheel, to stop thinking that your ear is going to teach you how to do something as complicated as writing really good fiction. The odds of that happening, I can't say are zero, but they're extremely low. And like any other kind of complicated endeavor, we do eventually come up against what we can figure out on our own, and then we need instruction. And we need instruction if we want to do it on a level that works at like on a professional level. And because the nature of a finished novel is to be given to a reader for whom it has to work, right? If we are at all serious about taking our work to the point where other people can enjoy it, we really do have to hold ourselves to a high standard, because nobody wants to hear for hours on the concert hall stage a little kid practicing the violin. It's not that fun to listen to. All right. And if we know that our goal is to create something that gives other people pleasure, we have to do the work to get our work to the level where it legitimately offers pleasure to the reader. I can't stress this enough. Your readers, even the readers who are, people in your life and who are supportive of you, you could get them to read your work. You could get them to read it. But if the work is not engaging, it's not going to engage them either. Then they're going to read it out of love. Some of them will be blunt with you and say, I read it. I wasn't crazy about it. Whatever. Here's why. but they really can't teach you how to write. And so, feedback from people who themselves are not experts in the subject matter is not really going to help either. They couldn't tell you how to stop screeching on the violin unless they happen to be professional violinists, right? So we have to embrace the fact that to do something at a professional level requires training, commitment, professional level mentorship, and a lot of practice. We have to apply ourselves to the work. It's going to take a little investment of time, not 10 years, doesn't have to. Not a $30,000 MFA, doesn't have to. There's lots of training out there. This is something that I offer. There's lots of places that you can get training. But I want you to consider, if you haven't already, that today might be the perfect day to accept the idea that you could benefit from training. Writing feels like we should be able to do it organically because we are such good readers. But with a little bit of hard knocks and experience, many writers discover that what they can pick up as readers does not translate to them being able to do it themselves. And nor should it. I live in a house. You probably live in a house. If I asked you to install the plumbing or the electrical in a house, you don't know how to do it unless you have been trained in those skills, because it's behind the walls. It's not visible. It's not stuff that we're going to necessarily know how to do unless we seek out the technical information that allows us to do it. All right. So a lot of what goes on in a professional level writing practice, by which I mean a writing practice that is designed to create work that pleases the reader, right? That's what I mean. Publishing level, professional level simply means it's ready for the reader. It's going to work for the reader. There's a lot behind the walls, is what I want you to consider. There's a lot of technical information that is not visible to the casual reader of literature, but writers who are practitioners need to know how to do it. So today might be the perfect day to consider it. I am going to put this link where you can see it down below this video, but I do want to remind anybody who's out there watching that the Path of the Storyteller program is where I teach all of this groovy stuff about story structure and writing craft, and a fair amount of mindset as well about how to approach our process and really thrive as writers. And we start the program again in January. It's a 16-week program, so kind of a full semester program, and it dives really deep into all the stuff that you need to know. So it does not take a 2-year commitment at a super expensive MFA program. You can really dive deep and learn what you need to know to write really well. Okay. And you can just go to the website and learn all about the program. You can enroll now. You can get on email with me. You can get on a Zoom call with me, and we can talk through whether this is something that's a perfect fit for you. Okay. Don't be shy about it. Don't be shy about it. I really would love to be able to mentor more writers and just kind of help more people get out of that stuck zone and into a place where you know that your writing is developing. It's developing. It's getting better all the time. Now, 10th, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say most important on my list of 10 things that I want you as a writer to consider that today is the perfect time to do is this. Today is the perfect time to celebrate your progress. No matter what your progress may feel like right now, today is the perfect time to celebrate it. You don't need to wait until you hit some kind of arbitrary milestone in order to celebrate. You don't have to say, well, when I finish this draft, I'll celebrate. When I get an agent, I'll celebrate. When I get a book deal, I'll celebrate. When I get on the bestseller list, I'm celebrating. The goalpost will always be moving in your writing career, just as in life, right? This is just the way we are. You don't have to wait another day to celebrate what you've already done. And even if what you've already done is you've allowed yourself to consider that your lifelong itch or desire to write is worth investigating, that's something to celebrate. If that's where you are on the path, if that's that's the box on the game board you're in, celebrate it. That is a step. It's an essential step. If you are someone who is, noodling around and deciding that, if when you get the courage, you're going to try to actually write something that looks like fiction, but you don't have a book idea, so you just download the writing prompts and finish one of them, isn't that something to celebrate? Of course it is. You took action. You took action in the service of your goal, in the pursuit of your dream, right? In the exploration of the self. All of these things are so important. So I just want to say that if you can celebrate today, do it. Find a way. Find a way. Wherever you are on the path, celebrate it. Whether you wrote something, revised something, whether you learned something, whether you actually were able to recognize something in an earlier draft that you thought was fine, and now you've learned a little bit because you decided to embrace some training, and you look back at what you wrote a couple months ago and you go, ugh, that's not that great. Celebrate that. Look how much you've learned, right? You've elevated your skill set. Now you can go back and recognize things and fix things that you didn't even see before, right? This is the transformational power of training and leveling up. So whatever it is, this journey, just like as we teach in Path of the Storyteller, just as works in story structure, the journey is incremental. It happens step by step. We don't write a great story in which our hero sits, passively, staring at their navel, and then on the last page there's like, eureka, I am transformed. Like, that's not how stories work. Stories take us on an incremental step-by-step journey of change, and the transformation is earned, right? Scene by scene by scene by scene, our hero goes through a compelling, engaging adventure, and something is happening all the time. It is incremental progress. Our growth as writers works exactly the same way. So there will always be a step that you can celebrate on this incremental journey. And I want you to celebrate all of them. Celebrate every step along the way. Okay? My dear storytellers, that's my list of top 10 things that I think that you can decide that today is the perfect day to do. And I want to bring up a wonderful comment from Cynthia. Hey, Cynthia, so glad you're here. Who is celebrating her day's incremental progress by indulging in biscotti and tea. I cannot imagine a nicer way to celebrate. I also want to share a comment from Anne that I appreciate a great deal. I'm super proud of you, Anne, for posting this. Embrace story structure. Amen. Preach it, sister. Such helpful advice. I'm glad you find it so, Anne. This is great. Oh, and let's see. Oh, Nancy's got a lovely comment here. And this idea of talking about our vulnerability as writers. Yes, when we show our work is how we grow. And she adds, unfortunately, because I know it makes us feel like it stirs up stuff, right? But it really isn't unfortunate, isn't it, Nancy? It's, when we show our work and we have the ability to start to engage with that higher level of expectation for our work, that it's supposed to please the reader, and we start to, invite that exchange of energy, and it does raise a lot of feelings. It does raise a lot of feelings, especially if we're introverted, right? If we're shy people, sometimes it asks something of us to engage in that sort of dialogue. And I'm going to share, Hillary has shared something as well. And she has embraced that today might be a good day to put a project down that's feeling stuck and move on to something to help get her unstuck. Hillary, this is, if it makes you feel good, I think this is great. So she shares, yesterday I decided to put away the book I've been stuck on and started working through the writing prompts on a new project. Fantastic. Well, I'm going to be very eager to hear how that goes for you, Hillary. We'll have to keep a conversation going about that. I love it. I hope those writing prompts are really helping you out. Okay. And we will, let's see, I'm going to end with this note from Constanza, Constanza, only if only we could transport you guys through time and space so that you could be having biscotti and tea with Cynthia right now, because Constanza says she likes the idea of meeting a friend when she sits down to write. An hour or two is possible and so lovely. It's precious. It is time with a friend. That is so true. I love that. And speaking of time with friends, thank you all so much for spending this hour of time with me and with each other. If you're watching on the replay as well, I consider you part of this Path of the Storyteller family online. And if you're interested in studying with me, please click the link below. Let's get into a conversation about what might be the best next steps for you on your path of the storyteller. If you like the content, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Give this video a thumbs up. It's super helpful and I appreciate it a lot. If you've got questions or want to add to the conversation, that's what the comment section below is for. And I love it when you leave comments. I read them all and I answer them all. Okay. So listen, I hope that you are all going to be celebrating yourselves until the next time I see you, which will be next week. If you have something that you want me to talk about in a future live stream, you got to let me know because I really, really love your suggestions. Okay. Happy writing, everyone. And I look forward to seeing you next time.